ध्यायेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्देक्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणीश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाध्यासितं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षातात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामुच्यतव पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। Namo Ramana. We will commence today's Friday's Atma Vichara session by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. As usual, I will be reading from the book Ramana Answers Self-Enquiry 1900 to 1950, a compilation of all question and answers on the subject matter of Atma Vichara, self-enquiry, by answers by Ramana and a compilation by our founder president, Sri A.R. Natarajanji. After reading the question and answer, we will meditate on the answer given by Bhagavan and then have a 20 minutes Atma Vichara session. After that, our president, Sharda Akka, would be talking on Ramana Gita on the same subject of Atma Vichara, which has been very deeply discussed between Ganapati Muni and Bhagavan in the Ramana Gita. In the series of questions that we have been looking, we have arrived at question number 70, wherein the devotee asks, what is the meaning of the strength of the mind? What is the meaning of the strength of the mind? Bhagavan, its ability to concentrate on one thought without being distracted. I'll read this next question and answer also, which is connected with it. Bhagavan says, to the question, what do you mean by strength of the mind? Bhagavan says very clearly, it is ability to concentrate on one thought without being distracted. In question number 71, the devotee then asks, how is that to be achieved? Or how is that achieved? Bhagavan says, by practice. A devotee concentrates on God. A seeker, follower of the path of knowledge, seeks the self. The practice is equally difficult for both. So Bhagavan says, answers how is it to be achieved. Bhagavan says it's by practice. A devotee concentrates on God. A seeker, follower of the path of knowledge, seeks the self. The practice is equally difficult for both. In these two question answers, Bhagavan is giving us what is by definition strength of mind means, and then how it is to be achieved, and how it is done in devotion and in the practice of Gnana Marga. In the last question that we saw last week, Bhagavan had answered what is how the mind dissipates its energy. As you would say, he had said, the wavering of the mind is a weakness arising from the dissipation of its energy in the shape of thoughts. When one makes the mind stick to one thought, the energy is conserved and the mind becomes stronger. It seems to be a continuation of that, where Bhagavan is saying that kind of strengthening is only by concentrating on one thought. So, definitely it is very clear that the wavering of the mind is the weakness. And to make it concentrate on one thought is the way to strengthen the mind. That it should not get distracted. And Bhagavan then further says how it is achieved. He says by practice. And for the devotee, he says he will concentrate on his Ishtadevata, his God. Or whereas a seeker, a Gnana Margi, may follow the path of knowledge and seek the self. He will ask the question, who am I? And try to seek the source of the I. Both of these, both the devotee and the Gnani have to practice. And by practice alone, they let go all other thoughts. Whenever any thoughts rises, one would not follow it. They will know that it is dissipation of energy, and that will make the mind weak. So the only way to do is drop that thought by asking to whom is this thought, or turn to the Ishtadevata. If one is a devotee, Rama, just turn the attention back to Rama or Krishna. Whoever is the Ishtadevata, we can turn to him by letting go of the thought. And therefore we have put breaks to the dissipation of energy and brought it to that one pointed. Only one thing. Either we ask, who am I, if we are in the Gnana Marga. So every time that is the only question we ask. Whom is this thought? Who am I? Or we come back to the Ishtadevata. Therefore, the mind now understands that whenever there is wavering, it knows automatically to come back to that one thing, which is attention on the Ishtadevata or on the question or the inquiry, who am I? And therefore to the self. By repeatedly practicing this, the Bhagavan says that the strength of the mind is increased. And by increasing this, what is that one is going to achieve, if one may ask? When the mind is able to hold on to one thought, and it more and more it becomes stronger in holding one thought, then when the truth is given to that mind, it can hold the truth and let go that one single thought also. That is the real advantage one gets. The practice of making it one-pointedness is not to just strengthen the mind and keep it there. Further, one more step happens when once one has gained that ekagrata, that one-pointedness, to such a person, when the truth is given, the truth is held, and even that one-pointed thought is let go. That is the advantage, that is the practice, that is the need of any sadhaka that we look at. Initially, the truth may be, I was watching one of the videos a long back about Swami Sarvapriyanandaji, and he was saying, actually for whatever problem we are facing, though the reason is our ajnana, The solution for it is actually gnana, knowledge, nothing else. For ajnana, gnana is the solution. But if a gnana is given, if the right knowledge is also given, we find that the sadhaka goes back and says, I can't hold on to that knowledge. My mind gets diverted into many, many things. Therefore, the Guru will say him, yes, that is because of the weakness of the mind. You have to strengthen it. And he will, the sadhaka will go back and he will say that I am not able to strengthen. Even when when I try to, he will say strengthen the mind by making it one pointed. The sadhaka will go back and say, I can't put my mind on one pointed thing, one object. It just gets dissipated here and there. It just gets followed. It just goes away from that one pointedness. Then the Guru says that then you should do nishkama karma so that the mind will get uh, without any objective, no likes and dislike. Therefore, it becomes more uh, less distracted with choices, and therefore it will help you to gain the manashuddhi. And from that manashuddhi, if you concentrate on one object, you will get ekagrita. And if once the ekagrita is got, then if you hear the truth, the knowledge, and let go the ignorance, then one would be established in the truth. So therefore, that is the traditional path, and which is what Bhagavan is also saying us, that it is mind, because it is not able to stay with the truth, it is getting wavered. He is asking us to make it practice for one-pointedness. And as a devotee, either we can hold on to Bhagavan, remember Bhagavan, we can surrender to Bhagavan every time a thought comes, we can just offer it off to him and just be at his feet. Or we can, if we are the path, we are following the Gnana Marga, then we can ask, to whom is this thought? Who am I? And try to seek the source of the I and get back to the self, which is essentially getting back to Bhagavan, who is within, who is the only truth which is there. So either way, we are going to get back to the self itself. So Bhagavan says the practice is equally difficult for both. So even if one is following the Gnana Marga or one is following the Bhakti Marga, either path, Bhagavan says it is difficult. The practice is going to be difficult. So we need not have to be worried that it is difficult. If at all we are practicing, started the practice, or we are in the midway of the practice, wherever we may be, and we are, or if we are almost the flag end, and then still we are finding our mind is moving around, it doesn't matter. Bhagavan says that that is how it is going to be until it is absorbed in the self. Therefore, we need not have to worry about it. Bhagavan has told us, even if we let go one thought and get back to that ekagrita, to that one truth, however which way we do, it is going to go a long way. So we should encourage ourselves every time that we get back to the self. We should recognize it is the grace of the Guru, the God, the Ishtadevata that is coming us, making us aware of the distraction and making us one-pointed. And by repeatedly making us one-pointed, it is going to take us, that grace itself is going to make us established in that same truth, that with which we are now doing it with effort. It doesn't matter even if the effort has to be put repeatedly. We should recognize this very, very clearly, that as Bhagavan himself has said, that it is going to be difficult for everybody. So practice time, it is going to be difficult. But one thing we know, we can understand here, is that if we have practiced to go with the thoughts, and now that we feel so easy to just run with the running mind, obviously if we practice to be with the thought-free state or get back to that one-pointedness, it is going to become that easy one at some point in time. Like, since we have practiced running with the running mind, it looks so easy, effortless. Similarly, to become one pointed, it will become effortless if you make enough practice. So that is something that we can understand from the nature of the mind, that what we feed it with, it becomes good in time. Therefore, without being worried about any other thought saying how long should I practice and everything, we should even drop that thought and get back to the, if we are in the Gnana Marga, get back to the inquiry, who am I, to whom is this thought, who am I? Or if we are in the path of devotion, we can hold on to the feet of the Guru or the God and let go the thought. And by repeatedly practicing, Bhagavan assures that the mind will become one pointed, gain the strength. And in the next two questions, Bhagavan takes us from such a strengthened mind to the truth. So we will look at it next week. For now, for the next 20 minutes, with the immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this path of Atma Vichara, or to this Satsangh, let us do Atma Vichara. For every thought that rises within us, instead of pursuing the thought, let us inquire diligently, to whom is this thought, and we will recognize that this thought is for me. Thereupon, we should immediately inquire, who am I? What do I refer to as I? And when we seek where the source from which this I thought has arisen, or what do I refer to as I, then the mind which was earlier attending to the thought gets back to the source with the grace of the Master and takes a dip in the self, abiding in the self. And Bhagavan says this one-pointed effort, if you keep on doing it, in due course, the mind will gain enough strength to remain at the source. The immense grace of Bhagavan, for the next 20 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. Sri Ramananjali. Portal Sharda Kanu.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the heart of every being. By the immense grace of the Self, shining as Ramana, we have been able to sit for the practice of self-inquiry and to do manana on self-inquiry based on the question answers from devotees, questions posed by devotees, the answers from Bhagavan, and continuing that manana in the form of the answers given by Bhagavan and encoded in 18 chapters as Ramana Gita by Ganapati Muni. We are meditating on the very first chapter, and we were in the last two answers of Bhagavan, wherein he has replied to Muni's question whether desires that are the cause for the starting of spiritual practice would be fulfilled if the spiritual practice itself comes to its culmination prior to the fulfillment of the desire. If one gets into samadhi, and if one gets into sahaja samadhi, having started with some desire in mind, having started with the thought of achieving something, will that desire get fulfilled subsequently? And Bhagavan assures, Kamarabdha samadhischa kamam phalati nishchitam. Kamarabdha samadhistu kamam phalati nishchitam. The desire will certainly be fulfilled, says Bhagavan. This assurance is maybe of some meaning to us, because what is it that keeps us bound to our identity? What is it that makes us want to continue as a limited entity? If we do not want to continue as this limited entity, if we are totally disillusioned with it or totally into the mode in depth of self-inquiry or in the grip of the question, who am I? Why would we be having any further thoughts? Why would we be having any desires whatsoever? There would be no room for desire, not even for thought. Actually, thought and desire are one and the same. They're not different from each other. We think there are some thoughts which are desires and some thoughts are not desires. All thoughts are desires. The rise of a thought indicates the desire, either consciously a desire to attain something, or consciously a desire to avoid something, or unconsciously a desire to continue the existence, to sustain the existence of this entity so and so. It is only if I want the continuation of being Sharada that I would indulge in any thought. When a thought arises, as Dilip was meditating in the first portion of today's satsang, when a thought arises, why would we pursue a thought? We would ask ourselves, for whom is this thought? Who am I? Why would we pursue any thought? Why would we continue to pay attention to any thought? If at all we do so, it is only because of the underlying belief that I am this particular entity, and that this entity, Sharada, has something to gain from that thought. If there is nothing for me to gain from that thought, why would I indulge in that thought? It is said that even a fool does not do something without good reason. Now, the reason may seem foolish to us, but for the so called fool, the reason why he or she is doing something is very clear to them. They have a reason why they are indulging in a particular activity. That reason may seem unreasonable or foolish to us, where we are all the time thinking that what someone else is doing is foolish. Half the time we think so. But then we don't think what we are doing is foolish. We have a very good reason. And if someone points out to us any error in any of our actions, we're quick to justify ourselves. Is this not right? Is this not the reason why I am doing this? I am doing this for a particular reason, and that reason is very valid, is what we would say quickly. So, the mind immediately jumps to justify itself. So, there is a reason why we do everything. There is a reason. And we are moved by that reason. We are moved by the karma, the desire. It is the desire which makes the mind move. The desire, underlying desire, Bhagavan says, is only to be happy. But by force of habit, we have forgotten even the underlying cause for these desires, the underlying cause for these thoughts. We think that, oh, today I need to do so and so. I need to achieve such and such a thing. I need to get there. I need to complete this. I need to stay away from this problem. This problem should not touch me. So and so thoughts keep coming in our minds. Or, why did so and so not understand what I was saying? Or, something is very beautiful. This song is so lovely. Now, this entire variety of thoughts is only in order to attain happiness, sustained happiness. However, we have lost that concept also, and we are lost in each and every thought as if it were an end in itself. If we were asked, if we were made to sit back and think about it, then we would understand, oh, this is only because I am pursuing this thought because I believe that I will get happiness by the pursuance of this thought. By following this thought, I believe I will get happiness. Why would we follow a sad thought then? Why would we follow a fearful thought? Why would we hold on to fear if our object is to be happy? We hold on to fear because it sustains our identity. If there is no fear whatsoever, there is no place, there is no room for Sharada. The fear is as much a sustainer of identity as the desire. Actually, they are two sides of the same coin. The opposite, the contra of desire is fear, the contra of fear is desire. They're just two sides of the same entity, which is the perpetuation of identity to sustain this being called Sharada. Now, Bhagavan is telling us here, he says, don't worry, you get into Samadhi, you get the Atmanubhava, whatever desires you had, they will also be fulfilled. So I don't need to worry. If I go into samadhi, I already have some 2, 3 desires which are unfulfilled. I have some thoughts which are unfulfilled. If I now drop these thoughts and get into the self, what will happen to these thoughts? What will happen to these desires? Isn't that the reason why we hold on to these thoughts? If I do not pursue this thought about my work today, how will my work get completed? This is my worry. And if my work doesn't get completed, then how will my desire related to the work get completed? That is an implied worry. But Bhagavan is saying, you just drop that. And it will automatically get fulfilled. If you get into the self, everything will get automatically taken care of. And in today's answer, in the earlier part, Bhagavan tells us that the same logic works for devotion also. If I remain in the thought of the Supreme, if I remain in the love of the Supreme, every action gets done automatically. While talking about Kau Lakshmi, Nandakumarji had highlighted this point. He said that looking at Kau Lakshmi's surrender to Bhagavan, how she left her entire life at the feet, how she offered her entire life to the feet of Bhagavan, her children, everything, her time, her attention, everything she gave only to Bhagavan. What would happen to her children? What would happen to her food? Was she worried? Will I be given food? Will I not be given food? Who will take care of my children? Will I have a place to stay? He said, this is how our thoughts are. And if we can remember Lakshmi and say, all these things will be taken care of by Bhagavan. Whenever a thought arises, why am I worried about this? Bhagavan will take care of this. Bhagavan will take care of this. So saying, let us drop every thought. Let us surrender every thought in the way of devotion, in that strength of devotion to Bhagavan. Let us drop every thought. Or we can drop every thought by understanding that they are all futile. They cannot give us what we are seeking. No thought can give us what we are seeking. Because in every one of our lives, I am certain there have been great joys that we have experienced, great moments that we have experienced. Wonderful gifts from God have certainly come to us in every one of our lives in some form or the other. Despite all that, why is there a continuation of seeking? Because, as Bhagavan says in Upadesha Saram, phalam ashashvatam, the greatest of gifts, the greatest moments of joy also disappear. They wane. That joy wanes. It goes away. It doesn't stay with us. What wonderful experiences. Actually, even just seeing Bhagavan's picture, how thrilling it is at times for us. But that too goes away. Everything goes away. To the point that when one dips into the self, gets Atmanubhava, still when one comes out, only for some time that taste of that experience is sustained, unless one holds it. As Bhagavan says, one must practice. Unless one puts in the effort to hold it, to recollect it continuously and hold it continuously, again the mind will get extroverted. It forgets even that bliss that it experiences when it dives into the self and imagines once again that it is going to get something outside, that it's going to get something through the fulfillment that thought will give, that thought will bestow, that action will bestow. It is not that one cannot perform actions, but what one is referring to here is those thoughts which are linked with the sense of identity. My thoughts, my actions. So, why do my thoughts arise? They arise out of a desire for some fulfillment. So, Bhagavan is saying either we can think about the futility of this, remembering his Upadesha to us in the 30 verses, the essence of Upadesha, the Upadesha Saram, or here Bhagavan is using a different method. Here he says, you don't have to go out seeking anything. Everything is available in you. Everything is available in you. It's already available. It's like he gives this example in a different context. Normally, Bhagavan gives this example. He gives the example of a cow that is used to going to its neighbor's pastures and chewing on the grass in the neighbor's pastures. But the neighbors are not happy about it. So they beat the cow. When they beat the cow, it gets beaten and it comes running back home. Now, Bhagavan says the master can tie up the cow. But if the master ties up the cow would wait to be untied. And at any point, if the master unties the cow will again go back to its old habit of going to the neighbors' pastures and meadows. Or it may even break loose its bonds and go due to the force of habit. So Bhagavan suggests that you try a different strategy. You give the luscious grass and fodder to the cow in its homestead. Then what happens? Then the cow would enjoy this grass and fodder, but initially, due to force of habit, the cow would still stray to the neighbors' pastures and meadows. But there, the cow gets beaten. So when the cow gets beaten, the cow rushes back home, and here it finds luscious grass, fodder, wonderful comfort, the master's love and care. Then slowly it begins to understand, why should I go there and get beaten? For what purpose? When I'm getting much better food at home, when I'm getting love and care at home, and all I get when I go outside is beatings. So why should I go out? It will gradually understand, says Bhagavan. So here Bhagavan is telling us, there is the best of fodder available. There is the best of luscious grass. Everything is available in the self. Everything, anything which one may desire is available in the self. On the other hand, no matter how much we pursue our desires, we may think that, we may have a desire to sing beautifully. We would have sung so many times beautifully. But does the desire get satiated? No. We might have a desire to speak beautifully, to dance beautifully, to write, to perform well in the job, to perform well as a sister, brother, mother, father, daughter. So many things, so many desires, to be a good friend. Have we not done all these things? Have we not got thanks and love in return for all this at some time or the other? Have we not got every desire fulfilled in some measure or the other? But it didn't bring us that joy, isn't it? Again, we are subject to the beatings because this is an external, it is a neighbor's pasture, it is not our own home. This world outside, the world of thoughts, is not our home. Bhagavan says, therefore, get back to the home. Get back to the home. Everything will be provided, everything will be taken care of. The question remains whether we will want it thereafter, says Bhagavan. You may, of course, all your desires will get fulfilled, but they will not mean anything because that which you're getting is so many million times more than what you would have desired or asked for. What would this be after that? So he says, Kamena yogam abhyasya sthita prajno bhavedyati sakamo mushya saphalyam gachannapi naharshayet. The yogi is not elated, though all his desires are fulfilled subsequently. It is not a cause for elation. Why? Because such is the manifold bliss of the self. By Bhagavan's grace, he has brought us to this path to bless every one of us with our own treasure of our own true nature. And every word of his is to give us the strength, to give the mind the strength to hold on to that. Because otherwise it is Dheeramil Lahatil Tedi Undanayan Tirumbavu train. The mind doesn't have the strength to hold on, the strength to hold on to this truth, the strength to understand that it is actually seeking only this and nothing else. That strength, to give it that strength, all practices only to give it that strength, to give it that understanding that it is not seeking anything else. It is seeking its own true nature, which is the fullness of bliss, which is peace, which is the very grace that takes us to it. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Should I say the prayer, Akka?
Yes, Dilip.
Apar Satchit Sukavaridashe Yasyormi Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chinta Vihinam Hrudi Chintayami Chinta Vihinam Hrudi Chintayami